Welcome to the Toledo City Council regular meeting of May 6, 2026. Our first item is call to order. And call to order. And then we do roll call.
Pledge of Allegiance, Madam Mayor.
But that's
nope. Have a roll call first, then Pledge of Allegiance. That's the order you put it in.
I am following the order on this duty.
Well, whoever did that didn't do it right. I'm telling you that right now.
We had to look that person up and tell him naughty.
Good help is hard to find.
Terribly hard. Was that you?
I would be happy to do the roll call.
That would be wonderful. Let's do that.
Maybe. My computer's just doing all sorts of stuff. Madam Mayor, are you here?
Yes, I think so.
Council President Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Chambers.
Here.
Councilor Kaufman is absent. Councilor Keating.
Somewhere.
Councilor Burns.
Here.
Councilor Riley.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, we do have enough to establish a quorum.
Okay, noting that we have a quorum, our next item up for our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item we have is public comment. Do I have any public comment for items not on the agenda for anybody who is here physically today? Go ahead.
Can I introduce myself?
Absolutely, come up, state your name. And
Hello, I'm Nicole Moody. I live in Depot Bay. I'm running for Lincoln County Commissioner, and so I'm stalking you guys every 1, 3rd, and 4th week of the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Anybody else? Hey, do we have anybody online that would like to submit comment for any items not on the agenda?
It does not appear so, Mayor.
Okay, seeing nobody else?
Oh, wait. Eric's asking.
I don't have public comment, but I just had a quick question that I thought might be appropriate here. Although if it's not, let me know. But so we had a public comment that was in the packet that was pretty lengthy. And it seems strange to me that like anybody can submit lengthy material to be printed in our council packet for public consumption and like records retention for all of time. So I don't know if there's a way for us as a council to receive public comment in a specific way, but I've never seen a city where like anybody can send something to just be added to the public facing like packet in this exact way. So it may be a legal question that's worth visiting later. I just wanted to raise it. My preference would be to not include written comment in the council packet if we're legally able to do that, but just speaking for myself.
Excuse me. Thank you. Yeah, I think that is something that maybe we will need to be considering.
Madam Mayor, the city attorney unmuted herself. Savani, did you have something to add?
So I don't know. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. That's definitely something that I can look into. Whether that needs to be included in the council packet, regardless of whether it remains open. Whether that means of communication remains open, so that you would accept public comment via written submission, but maybe rather than having the entire thing printed in the council packet that's publicly available online, just have a notation if people are curious as to what's in that, because it is a public record. But
yeah, I totally get that. And all of our email addresses are publicly facing on the website. So like, I feel like we're accessible for people to contact us in writing. It just seems strange that the council packet becomes like an amplifier for anybody to submit. I don't know how many pages it is, but a lot of pages on whatever topic they feel like submitting, and having that like memorialized in the council package just seems like a weird thing to me. But anyway, not a big deal, but just
my question would be, Eric, that's good. It is a big deal in a way. would it be possible for us to not have them necessarily as part of the packet, but maybe under another tab where it says submitted public comment?
Madam Mayor, I do have the ability to attach other files to the meeting. So like reports, anything like that, I can do it that way to keep it separate. And I'll see if I can label it as submitted comments. That way it doesn't become part of the packet.
Well, we just want to make sure that we're not violating any ethical laws or anything by doing it that way. But Andrew, you have a
Yeah, so there are some common standards for what kind of amount of time in terms of like spoken word, written word converts to, like a sort of conversion. And there's a part of me that kind of is thinking about the idea of putting limitations on how much written comment can be submitted or would be included. So if we were to say, put a limitation of say 2 pages, for example, and I don't know where kind of the word count tends to fall in terms of how much time a certain number of words kind of quantifies as 3 minutes, but kind of thinking about that sort of equal share of public comment if somebody wants to do it in written form versus doing it in person. But I don't know that I necessarily love the idea of saying we're going to treat written comment as fundamentally different for public comment submission because people might do written because they can't make it, or somebody might have a sort of social anxiety and not want to get up and do something in front of city council or do it on video or for whatever reason. And so written comment is how they want to get something important in front of our community. So I think maybe if it's about creating limitations on how much content can be included to kind of align with the amount of time that we give people for verbal comment in the room, I think that's where my comfort level would be.
I would kind of have to agree with that. I mean, if we're only giving people in person, like say Shannon want to come up and do public comment, she's only afforded 3 minutes. So how do we get written comment as well and being fair to everybody and not violating somebody's freedom of speech?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, this could quickly become an erosion of their First Amendment rights, and we want to make sure that we're not impeding that in any way. I am not opposed to, if they want to send in 50 pages of public comment, I'll read it. I'm not gonna read it out loud. I think it should be available to anybody in the public that wants to read it, but as to whether or not it needs to be actually included in our packet or as an addition to the packet, I think that's something that maybe we as council can discuss at a future work session.
After Savani does some research on it
Yes,
first.
I think that would be best.
Sure, and I'm happy to bring that back, but just I have seen cities, so if you want it to still be an option for people to submit written public comment, I think it's completely appropriate to separate it out from the packet itself, because the packet itself is really the city's presentation of the issues and public comment is something separate. So having those both available online, but maybe not necessarily included in the packet is totally fine. I might need to do some research is if you wanted to look into a limitation on the written public comment, the amount of written public comment, because the time restriction is really to ensure an orderly meeting. So that's why there's a time limit available for spoken public comment, but that doesn't carry the same weight when you have something submitted in writing. So I'm happy to look into that, but I think totally fine to split it out into 2 sections, agenda, packet, and public comment is something separate.
Savani, to be cognizant of your time, because I know you have more clients than just us. Maybe we should have the discussion first to see if that's even an area that we want to stray into, is actually limiting the time, the amount of the written, public comment, because that might not even be anything that we want here, and we wouldn't want you wasting your time or spending your time on something that would end up being frivolous.
Certainly.
We have much better things to work on. So I don't know how everybody else feels about that, but I mean, it's definitely a consideration.
What's our next work session looking like, Rich?
Let me take a quick look. It might be open at the moment. Future item tracker. Hearing the Jeopardy theme song in my head as my Word document is open. Right now, our next, we have one presentation that, the presenter has been in touch with Paul. And then, we have a general, placeholder for transportation. Those are the two items on the May 27th work session at this time.
Do we have enough time to add this to our work session?
And there's something else that I'm gonna be bringing up later that I want to add to our work session as well. So,
Very good.
we'll discuss that later. Are we ready to moving on past? And after this discussion, just for the public's knowledge, we did receive a very large packet of submitted public comment, and it is available online in our packet if anybody wishes to read that. So moving on, we're moving on to our consent agenda. The April 15th, 2026 City Council minutes.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Okay, I have, it's been moved, it's been seconded. Does anybody want to discuss? I'm not seeing that. Okay, Paul, can we have a roll call vote?
Give me just a second.
So for the record, it's been moved by Frank and seconded by Jackie. Councilor Burns.
Councilor Riley,
Yes.
Councilor Keating,
All right. Yes, realize I have to be on video for roll call votes.
Councilor Chambers,
Yes.
Councilor Riley, Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Council President Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
Mayor Mix.
Yes. Thank you. Now our next item for consideration is under Toledo Beat and for presentations. And it is a proclamation, and it's gonna give me a second just to get to it, guys. I'm sorry, I have a lot of scrolling to do.
Mayor, I have a physical copy here if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda?
I do not.
The first one is table of the agenda. So this is the first. So this one I very happily get to proclaim. It is the 57th annual Professional Municipal Clerks League, May 3rd through 9th of 2026. Whereas the office of the if I can talk. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Tracy Mix, Mayor of the City of Toledo, Oregon, do recognize the week of May 3rd through May 9th, 2026 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. And I proudly would like to recognize our municipal clerk. Paul, would you come up here? Aww. It's not much, but we couldn't do this without you. Thank you for everything you do. Well done, Mayor. Great. Our next proclamation. Okay. Sorry guys, it takes us a minute.
Oh, sure.
Just send it. Text. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay, thank you. All right, and we have another proclamation. We get to observe National Police Week, May 10th through 17th of 2026. The reason that we're bringing this up now is we don't have a meeting next week, so we get to do it ahead of time. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which it follows as National Police Week. And whereas National Police Week is observed annually to recognize the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers across the United States, particularly those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. And whereas the men and women of the Toledo Police Department serve with dedication, professionalism, and courage, working tirelessly to protect the lives, rights, and property of the citizens of Toledo. And whereas the city of Toledo solemnly remembers Patrolman Gary Sumter, the Toledo Police Department's only line of duty death, thank God, and honors his legacy of service and ultimate sacrifice. And whereas the communities across Oregon gather each year at the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training, DPSST, for those that love acronyms, to honor fallen officers and support their families, ensuring their sacrifice is never forgotten. And whereas law enforcement officers face increasing challenges and risks in the performance of their duties, and their commitment to public safety deserves the highest recognition and respect. Now, therefore, I, Tracy Mix, Mayor of the City of Toledo, Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 10th through May 17th, 2026 as National Police Week in the City of Toledo. And I call upon all residents to join in honoring the service and sacrifice of law enforcement officers, to remember those who have given their lives, and to express appreciation for the dedicated professionals who continue to serve our community. In witness, okay, there's another, thank you. And I am going to sign this one. Thank you, Mayor. It's all done. Yes. As I bumble away. And make bumbling up. And find art here. Now, how do I get back? Okay. Now we are going to get to move on to discussion and information items. The first item up for consideration is the water and sewer rate changes effective May 22nd, 2026. Request for council action on next meeting.
So the standard process on utility bill adjustments for council is that they be presented at one meeting and then acted on at the next meeting. So we labeled the header with that information for the public. So at this time, I'd like to invite our new finance director, Mindy Suter, up to give the presentation on this item. Mindy, if you would come to the microphone. What's that? Yeah.
Hello.
So in the packet, there was, we just wanted to kind of start a discussion on the proposed water rates for the 2027, 26, 27, 26, 27 rates. And the rates we proposed was 4% across the board, for just to keep up with our inflation costs and cost of doing services.
And is that for both water and sewer?
Water and sewer, yeah, just equal 4% across the board for both. Last year, so sewer was 3 and water was 7 last year.
Question, is this, do we do this every budget year?
Yes, we do it every year.
Sorry.
And I
This is just one this year is just one to keep up with the inflation costs. And then, kind of the average bill that average consumers would see, and it's about, $8 increase every month on utility bills, for both water and sewer.
I noticed that it looked like you guys chose mine for an example. I think oh, that's how much my bills went up, cool.
Am I correct that last year we were making an adjustment, not just as large as it was for the sake of keeping up with inflation, but I think maybe an adjustment hadn't been made the previous year?
We hadn't done it in a while.
Yeah, we missed.
That's what I thought.
All of our
So that
neighboring cities
7%,
had
that
done
7% was because
Actually,
it
that's
had
not
been
100%
a couple years.
accurate. Andrew, you're partially correct. There was a previous administration, let's just call it that, who for a period of time chose not to increase rates at all. So for the past 8 years, we've been having to play catch up and trying to do it in the least painful way possible for our citizens. And unfortunately, last year we had to increase water by 7% because water has to pay for water and sewer has to pay for sewer. So I like to see that it's kind of balancing out and that we're able to go up by that, and hopefully inflation won't outpace it.
Right. That's what we're hoping for as well.
And so it is, as Mindy mentioned in her presentation, we wanted to keep the proposed rate adjustments this year to be in line with inflation. So we utilize the consumer price index, which measures the change in price year over year, and the 4% is very much in line with the CPI, which was right around 3.5%. So the 4% covers not only the inflation, but gives the city the opportunity to continue to build a little bit of a reserve while also being as conservative for our ratepayers as we can.
That was going to be my next question was, is this allowing both our water and sewer funds to stay in the black?
Yes. Yeah. And that's very much the point for us. I know none of us are fans of tax and rate increases. And so the goal here in the proposal that we brought forward was to propose a rate that would ensure that our utilities stay whole while providing as minimal of an increase to our ratepayers as we could. And so that's why we utilized the CPI. We felt like that was a very accurate representation of where the economy is right now.
Eric, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, Andrew, was that your only, or do you have any additional? You're good? Bill, do you have any questions or comments about this? Jackie?
No, very clear, thank you.
Frank?
No, I just remember this conversation last year, and
It's a harder one last year.
It was painful.
people were upset. I remember a couple weeks after that, we got a suggestion to raise the electric utility fees too, and we decided that we'd already dinged them hard on it.
Yes, and that was also the reason that we decided not to, we were looking at the possibility of a public service fee, and we decided to nix it because we had to raise the water rates so high. We didn't feel we just didn't feel we could do it. So, thank you. This is very clear. This is probably the clearest presentation of it I have seen so far. So, you guys did a great job.
Yeah.
I looked at it, I can understand it, I generally do, but
I could understand it.
there you go. And so, thank you. You guys did a fantastic job.
You're welcome.
So council, as mentioned in the title of the item, we'll bring it back for consideration at your next business meeting. I think we had a small typo in there. That should be May 20th. That's 2 weeks from tonight. Since you've had your discussion tonight, ordinarily I would put an item that's been discussed and reviewed on the consent agenda for the next meeting, given that the impact that this has to our ratepayers. I'll have it as a general action item. But I think that we can keep the presentation minimal on this one, since it's been discussed this
Yeah,
evening.
because we want to give the public a chance to speak, because we're trying to do that with all of our city matters.
Absolutely, yep.
And I guess for that, I should ask if there's anybody online or in the audience that would like to comment on this.
And that is entirely up to you, Madam Mayor. We usually keep that to action items, but given the sensitivity of this one, if you want to open that up to, you're not misstepping if you don't, but it's entirely your discretion if you'd like to this evening.
I think once again, because of sensitivity, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this? No. Sorry, my husband's in the audience. Is there anybody online that would like to speak to this? That has any questions or comments? Not seeing any, I think we covered it.
We're good.
So we can go ahead and move on now. Mr. Huebner, do you want to grab this next one?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. So the next item on discussion this evening is the appointment of a counselor to the Cascade West Area Commission on Transportation. So the Oregon Department of Transportation maintains a series of area commissions to advise the State Department of Transportation on priority projects for each region. They generally like to hear from the boots on the ground, as it were. So our area is part of the Cascades West area, and so the opportunity there are 38 voting members of the commission. That includes a commissioner from each of the 3 counties in our area. There are 24 incorporated cities, and 1 counselor from each city is invited to be a part of it. 1 representative from each of the 3 port districts, 1 representative from each of the federally recognized Indian tribes, 6 representatives from private sector, and those are split 2 from each county, and then the ODOT area manager. So the CWACT, as I'll refer to it, since as you mentioned earlier, Mayor, we love our acronyms in government. The commission meetings are typically held on the 4th Thursday of even numbered months. So February, April, June, August, October, and December. They're 5 to 7 p.m. and they can be attended either through video conference or in person. The meetings rotate, the in-person location rotates between various locations in Lynn, Benton, and Lincoln counties. So we are in need as a city of assigning a member of the council to be our representative to the CWACT, and we wanted to open that up this evening for any questions or any volunteers that might be interested in filling that role.
Under volunteering, I just want to say that that's the one that you stepped into,
I
and you
did.
did a really fine job. So I was just new on council, and I went to the first meeting, and I was in acronym hell. I couldn't understand what they were talking about. So I opted out and still will.
Well, I'm on just way too many
You
advisory
have a lot
committees
on your
now,
plate, yeah.
so that's why I just had to step down from it. So we needed somebody from council. I think, Andrew, if I remember correctly, you can't do it due to the fact that your wife.
No? Andrew, do you want to address that? I saw it because you raised your hand.
Oh yeah, I'm very very happy to do it. No conflicts, nothing, no issues there. There's
Good boy.
Do you want to
There-
fight him for it? Did you want to fight him for it?
Sorry, did you call on me?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just wondering if you
no.
want to fight Andrew for the position.
No, I would not like to spend my second Thursdays of the month from 5 to 7 doing that. I think
yeah,
Andrew would be
believe it or not, almost all of the committees or boards that I'm on all meet on the 4th Thursday of every month. So basically that's like a day off of everything else for me. I've got the Solid Waste Consortium, I've got the United Way Board. Now I'll just have this. So every 4th Thursday of the month is going to be committee day.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. Does anybody have any opposition to us appointing Andrew to this? No, there's going to be no fight club over this. Andrew, it's all yours.
Yeah, this
Yay.
is a really good one. This is the committee that was really involved with getting the 229 and 20 intersection there on that top priority list with the governor's office. And so this is one that I've been paying a lot of attention to, which is why my hand went up. with the landslide on outside of Siletz there, this committee was really, really important, kind of addressing how much traffic is going through that intersection now compared to, say, a year ago. So this committee is really important, and I'm kind of glad that the opportunity to join it
Thank you,
is
Andrew.
open.
You can, we appreciate it. It is important, and I think that you, I think you're gonna be great.
Good representation.
Absolutely. Okay, we have dealt with that one. That was fantastic. Now we're moving on to council goals. Mr. Keebner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So in your packet this evening, council members, is a draft of, I'm gonna backtrack for a second. So what we have previously called our council goals, I really liked the label that your retreat facilitator, John Morgan, used for this document. He is referring to it as the City of Toledo Strategic Action Plan. And that really came from some of the discussion you had in your retreat meeting around, we don't want to just have these lofty goals that are difficult to accomplish. There was a lot of discussion amongst you around, and you'll see that reflected in the document, around we want to have the goal, and then we want to know how are we measuring our progress toward achieving that goal. And so changing it from being just a goal sheet to this strategic action plan is really then reflective in, you now have goals, you have objectives, and you have labeled the responsibility and the plan to timeline. And so just as one example, and I won't read all of them for consideration of the time this evening, but the first goal is improve and stabilize the city's financial health. Great goal. Then underneath, the objective is to develop a financial strategic plan. Next to that then shows the responsibility will lie with the administration, the finance department, and the council. That'll be something we would be working on collaboratively. Our time frame is March 2027 to complete that in order to be utilized as part of the 27-28 budget process. So that gives you an example of how Mr. Morgan took the conversation that you all had and broke it into goals, objectives, assignment of responsibility, and time frame. So wanted to present this to you this evening. I know it's been a few months since you had that meeting. I hope it's still somewhat fresh for those of you that were on the council at the time. And I'm open to any feedback that you may have on the goals and any of the other items that are included in the document. And then I'm happy to take any feedback that you may have and bring this back to you on May 20th for you to be able to adopt.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments? Mr. Chambers.
I had just a couple comments or questions maybe. On the first one, and this might be like a semantic thing, but when I hear like strategic plan, I think of like mission, vision, values. And so I don't think that's quite what we were looking for on the financial side. So that might just be a wording thing, but I think we're looking more for like, how do we not, how do we have a positive net margin in the general fund?
Financial sustainability plan, maybe something.
Yeah, that would make more sense to me.
Okay.
And then just moving down the list on the economic development goal, the second to the last one, I was thinking that it might be good to have like an objective that says something more overt about some of our retail vacancies, like recruit businesses and remove barriers to fill vacant storefronts or something like that, that speaks kind of directly to that. And then I thought it might also be good to have an objective there that speaks to addressing blighted buildings, through code enforcement and abatement, other tools, but something that kind of gets at that 1-2 punch of blighted buildings and vacant storefronts. And then the last thing I had was on the final goal under volunteerism. I was wondering if council thought it might be appropriate to add something that acknowledges the city's role in supporting events and festivals, or vibrancy through events and festivals or something like that. I think consistent with what we're trying to do to support the summer festival and Arts, Oysters, and Brews and those types of events, it might be good to have something there. So those were my thoughts.
Great thoughts, thank you.
Are there any council members that disagree really quick with any of the suggestions Councilor Chambers made?
Like I didn't understand half the words, bread, not joking.
I made notes on those, and I just wanted to make sure before I went back and incorporated any of them that there wasn't any opposition to those. I'm not hearing any.
Those were great. None here.
Great.
Anything else on this topic? No? Okay.
Well, I will work on refining those comments provided by Councilor Chambers, and I'll have this back for action on May 20th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item for discussion and information is fireworks retail permits.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And you'll notice this is under discussion item. There's no attachments at the moment. This has been something that council has talked about a couple of times at a very high level. As we're getting closer to the holiday and with a gap between business meetings, I wanted to bring this back for discussion this evening. If council has any specific, I think I've mentioned before that in any fireworks regulations that you may wish to adopt, you have to be objective in your regulations. So it can't be we only allow this one fireworks retailer by name. You could adopt regulations that say we only will allow up to X number. You can adopt regulations that say we will only allow within a certain distance from each other. You could put limitations on what types of retailers can sell fireworks. So you can say that they can't be sold in an establishment that sells alcohol, just as an example. Not saying you would do that, but your priorities have to be objective to where it can't be a matter of any potential interpretation of we showed favoritism to this potential retailer, anything like that. So I wanted to hear from council if there are any specific guidelines that any councilors would like to propose, or there's been discussion about a potential desire for regulations. So I really wanted to see, are there any guidelines that councilors want to suggest, or are you looking for myself and the city attorney to bring you a recommendation?
I have some suggestions. I think that I would like us to flesh this out, like number that we are going to allow, where we are going to allow them, and any other concerns that we might have. I think that it would be good if we could work on this on a work session. I don't know if that is, the problem is that it's what?
Cut close.
It is cutting it close, and that's my concern too.
Can I ask Shannon to come up and give her thought on this as well, since she more understands?
I would be,
I don't have anything. I'm just here to gather information.
Andrew.
Oh, I mean, I appreciate the cutting it close aspect, but I also think we can kind of leave things as they are now, right? If we're talking about kind of creating limitations on permits or anything like that, we have a system in place already that just kind of allows for the fireworks to be sold and so forth. So I guess I don't think anything's necessarily broken right now that needs to be fixed in a hurry. But we are just kind of looking at something that maybe for the future. Am I missing something that
Yes.
that makes this urgent?
I do think so. And this is just my perspective, and you guys can more than welcome to disagree or share your perspective, and mine might change. But the way I see it, we are the only city in the county selling fireworks. We are going to have every organization wanting to come in here and have a fireworks stand to help them sell their, to make money. And I think that it would behoove us, might not be the right word, however, I think it would be a good idea for us to keep some sort of control of it, limit the number of fireworks stands we have, maybe the distance that they are, the locations that they can be at. Like, we don't want them in residential areas. We might want them just in, Mr. Mix, what would you like to say?
And Jonathan Mix, also a planning commissioner. So you can only sell fireworks in commercial. You cannot sell them
Where does it say that in our code?
in the codes.
Does it? That's good to know.
Also, why the economy or the supply and demand will regulate how many, also help regulate how many vendors you can support, that could be supported. So why put a number on it?
Because we had 12 vendors come in here and that is gonna limit the amount each one of them can make.
But there's limited commercial space that they can even set it up at. That would make sense.
What would
So
that
that's
be?
gonna,
Have they been designated?
Huh?
Have the locations designated?
No.
well, that's all.
Eric?
So just a thought in trying to stay sort of within like the objective criteria idea. Objective criteria, I mean, I think we can still within an objective criteria, we can still favor like categories. So we could, I mean, and one, like, first of all, like, I don't know if council would take this action, or Rich, if you could just like have a moratorium on accepting applications until we discuss this at the work session or something like that. Like if we're concerned about the next few weeks, maybe we just don't take applications for fireworks for a period of time. But like more broadly, I mean, I think it would be appropriate to like limit applications to those submitted by nonprofits that are associated with town festivals and events. And any nonprofit that is associated with a town festival or event is welcome to submit an application, and we could limit the total number of applications to 2. I think if we're trying to have an objective criteria that keeps this sort of within, some parameters.
Isn't that kind of favoritism because there's very few festivals and events? Andrew?
Well, to be
No,
clear, like
Changed my idea on needing to say anything.
I'm
well,
sorry.
to be clear, like we like the question isn't favoritism. The question is objective criteria. So like we can prioritize categories and without losing track of our objective criteria.
So, Madam Mayor, running off of Councilor Chambers' recommendation there, I appreciate the thought process. He is absolutely true. You can create a category that says, we limit to vendors that are connected with a Toledo event, for example. You're not saying we're picking these 3 events. You're saying any Toledo event that the vendor is affiliated with. So that's still an objective criteria. And then it would need to be, they would be reviewed in the order in which they were received.
Does that restrict like JC Market from being able to? Because they're not a nonprofit and they're not necessarily affiliated with an event. And in the past, they have been able to sell fireworks.
They just sell limited.
So under, my apologies, Councilor Burns.
I think, don't they just sell limited kinds of fireworks? They don't sell the things that shoot up.
None of them are
Like
supposed to be showing the
the
things that
spray
should.
cone things,
The
that.
fountains?
Yes.
In the
Things
past,
like
it was the same company that we sold from.
Yeah, so no, they've had all of them in the past.
Okay.
So if
And we've
you,
interrupted Andrew like 3 times.
he's waving off. Yes, if you adopted only that criteria, you can adopt multiple criterias. So you can say one limitation is nonprofit vendors that apply must be affiliated with a Toledo event. And then you can also say, we're limiting the number of commercial applicants to only Toledo-based businesses or no more than 5. Right? So you can adopt multiple criteria. So yes, if you only said we would accept applications from nonprofits affiliated with Toledo events, yes, that would eliminate JC Market. But again, you can adopt more than one criteria.
I would object to eliminating JC Market. They're so generous to us.
Oh, there's no way we can do that.
No,
Yeah.
and no, that would not be acceptable.
I was gonna say, I think that was very much the mayor's intention, is I don't think she wanted to do that. She wanted to make sure we didn't do that, it sounded like.
Savani?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Quick question. So does JC Market, they sell fireworks in a physical store location, or do they also have a display stand?
Inside.
Okay, so that could be another distinction too. You might have a display stand permit versus a physical location permit.
So I like the idea of the moratorium until we can get some sort of parameters around this. Who would feel comfortable with staff working on this and bringing us back some sort of a draft?
So the one thing I'll say to this discussion is I would need to double check if an administrative moratorium is possible or if council would need to take that action. But what I can tell you is I can, as city manager, I can say, even if I can't say, no, we won't accept the applications, I can say that because this is a topic for council, we won't process and approve any applications until council has set their criteria. So whether I can impose an actual legal moratorium or not, we will, any that we receive, we will pause on processing until council has taken action.
So if we were to say, if we were to propose a motion, somebody here was to propose a motion and we voted on it, would that change that?
Savani, do you have, I just wanted to double check with you on imposing a moratorium on a specific retail activity. Is that something that council would there need to be an advertisement, public hearing, or is that something that council could do this evening if they wanted to?
I mean, I don't know if it's a public hearing item off the top of my head, but that's a reason to potentially delay it. It might need to be something that's at least publicly noticed.
Yeah.
But council could direct staff to hold applications until they've had a chance to discuss.
If we just direct staff, Mr. Heber, to do exactly what he said on the second part of his comment, is that council's discussing this and we will hold these applications until they have their parameters set. That would give everybody the right answer.
And Savani, I think I can do that based on consensus of council. Do you think we need a vote, or can I see Councilor Keating's giving a thumbs up. It looks like you were nodding. I think we can just say we will pause processing until council has taken action. Very good.
One quick question. So we were talking about bringing that back on the 27th. Is that, I don't have
20th.
a calendar in front of me.
20th.
But on the 20th, and that's a work session. So do we need, I'm just trying to think in terms of timing. Like, I don't want to hamstring Shannon if they need to get things going. So I don't know if there's a way to make it a business item on the work session or something like that.
Councilor Chambers, quick clarification. There was an initial suggestion to bring it for the next work session. The conversation then kind of evolved to say we'd like to have staff bring back a recommendation. And so the 20th is your next regular business meeting.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if council's comfortable with what is brought forward, you can take action that evening.
Great.
And if for some reason it has to be on the 27th, we could always do a special meeting before the work session.
Yep.
Or after.
Yep, absolutely true.
So are we, do we have any? Not at the moment. So I believe we have a Jackie.
Oh, were you just scratching your, I thought you were raising your hand, Jackie.
Scratching my nose.
Oh, very good.
I did have my hand raised because I was thinking about, one of the parameters being the dates when they can sell, like to start at a certain date to end. Do we want it to end?
That's a good thought,
Yeah.
when they can actually have them. Is that governed by state law?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
They
so we
can-
don't need to do that. That's governed by state law.
When is the last day they can sell? Do you know, Shannon?
July 6th.
July 6th?
Oh, okay.
Now, can we, I think we have to follow state rules, but we can also add to them for our own city, right?
We can be more restrictive, we can't be less. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we wanted to clear out of Dodge that next day, right? Or by that night? Or no?
I don't know. I'm busy that week. So.
I don't,
Just like
I'm busy that week, so I'm not selling till July 6th.
yeah, I think most people, the ones in Newport usually just sell them and they sell them at dirt cheap for the next couple days.
I think what we're anticipating is through July 5th, just that last blowout sale is
Okay.
what our anticipation is.
Unattended, right?
Well, okay, Mr. Hubner, I think we've reached some consensus, and I'm
Yep.
happy that that's enough meat for you to move forward with, and
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
absolutely. Our next item up for discussion is the Thursday market fee waiver request.
Yes, thank you. So as a refresher for council, we had this initially at your last business meeting, and I had put forward a draft resolution that would have approved the fee waiver for the chamber. There was some discussion amongst council and ultimately a consensus to ask that it be brought back in the future. So what I wanted to do this evening was have it as a discussion item. And while I would be happy to provide copies, I didn't put the resolution that I had originally drafted into this budget packet because I didn't want it to appear like we were asking for action this evening. I wanted to open this, back up for discussion and see if there was any information or that it wasn't included in the first packet, any further ideas. There had been some discussion of, do we grant the full waiver? Do we cut it in half? That kind of thing. Given that the chamber is planning to start the markets out in the outdoor setting in June, I'd like to know by your next meeting if a waiver of any or all of the rental amount is going to be granted, and giving them that information ahead of time. So I wanted to bring it back for discussion this evening, and then with a plan to, if there's a desire for council to take some type of action, that I bring you back a resolution at your next meeting that is reflective of a consensus.
So my question, you have drafted the resolution, the proposed resolution already?
Yes, it was included in your last packet, and there was no action taken on it.
Okay. So I guess we need to discuss and decide if that's what we want to go with. How should we do this? That way, Andrew.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things that I had talked about when we pushed this to this meeting was, I think that and I feel like Eric Councilor Chambers did a really kind of good job of pointing out that there are other organizations, other programs that use this space that it would be good to be able to afford the same sort of waiver to, such as Summerfest. I think that what I would really love to see is, I think a resolution for Summerfest, for the waterfront market makes a lot of sense, but I would like there to be some sort of a usage agreement that is associated with it. That includes, for instance, they're getting the fee waived, but I do think that kind of requires a certain level of responsibility, that if their use does, say, cause damage, significant damage or anything like that, that there is some shared responsibility, because those fees, right, I think are partially meant to provide for any maintenance that might be required for use of that space. So while I certainly understand that, they haven't been necessarily paying for the use in a while, I think that kind of for the moving forward aspect and thinking about how everybody might be putting in, different organizations in the future might want to be putting in requests for fee waivers. I do think that having some sort of usage agreement associated with that fee waiver would be beneficial to the city.
I would have to actually agree with that one.
I
think it has to be limited to nonprofit, or if we're waiving fees, it would just, like Summerfest is nonprofit, Chambers nonprofit, Set uses the field, and their duty is to make sure the field's taken care of while they're using it. They don't pay for it either. We kind of have to be equal across the board.
Is there a way we could limit it to like the gross income of the nonprofit? We could say, okay, any nonprofit with less than $50,000 of gross income in the year would qualify for free use, and then have it on a sliding scale that if they have more than that, then maybe they get a reduced rate, or if they have more than, this X amount, then they pay the full rate.
And that was actually not that specific, but I was going to make a mention that if you want to adopt a policy that is inclusive of, multiple potential recipients, that exactly what you were describing there, Madam Mayor, of whatever the policy is applies to everyone who's eligible. So you have to set your eligibility criteria, right? So SET uses it for multiple months. Summerfest, for a limited but consecutive number of days. The chamber uses it for like 16 dates, but it's 1 week a month for 4 months, right? So you would want to set some kind of criteria that would apply to all of them, whether that is, any usage that is more than 10 days, just as some kind of criteria that would be all encompassing, but kind of going back to the fireworks discussion, would also be objective. And a sliding scale, yeah, you can absolutely, as long as that criteria is still objective, which it would be. If you make X amount, you're eligible for a full waiver. If you make Y amount, you're eligible for a half, something like that.
You
Yeah.
could call it like nonprofit rates, and they would be by the annual gross income, and all they'd have to do is bring in a copy of their
Their P&L.
990.
I believe Jackson,
And
Council
Eric is
Burns.
actually, I don't know who had it up first, but Eric's had his hand up for a little while. Eric?
The only thing, I think like a user agreement or something that protects our liability and makes sure they don't damage property makes sense. Although I think we're probably going to pay Savani more money to create that than we would have otherwise collected in revenue from the permit. But to me, the sliding scale on the revenue for the nonprofit, I have a little bit of heartburn for that, because I think the summer festival is a good example. Shannon, last time I saw your books, it was like $90,000 or $100,000 that was running through the nonprofit. Of course, you're zeroing out by the end of that or close to it, because you're just throwing a huge, awesome event that costs $90,000. So I wouldn't want to disadvantage an event because it's big and successful. I would totally favor something that our objective criteria is nonprofits that are headquartered in Toledo, or Toledo and Greater East County, or something like that. That, if we have nonprofits, I don't know if the van people are a nonprofit or not, but if they're coming from out of town and they just need a place to park vans, great, let's charge them for the use of our community field. But I think fundamentally, at least from my perspective, if there are groups and organizations that are trying to put on something that makes our town vibrant and exciting and gives people something to do, I love the idea of not charging them to do that.
And one thing you mentioned, Councilor Chambers, and my apologies, Councilor Keith, I started talking and then looked up and saw you had your hand up. One thing that popped with me when you were using your hypothetical, Councilor, is, if it raises $100,000 but costs $90,000 to produce, then if it's based on their annual net income rather than just the revenue from the event, that could be taken into consideration.
Fundamentally, nonprofits don't make income, so
right.
You'd have to base it on their revenue, and I don't really like the idea of doing that, because their revenue in some ways just represents vibrancy. They're doing, the summer festival is huge, and that's amazing.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to latch a little bit onto one of the last comments that Councilor Chambers put on before that, and that is some of the organizations that serve the Toledo area aren't necessarily headquartered here, and so I think a lot about if we want to recruit kind of organizations to come and do things that create events. So I give the example of United Way, right? We've got a Tri-County United Way that's technically based in Albany, but does serve Lincoln County. If they wanted to use Toledo, if they wanted to get more presence in Toledo or create an opportunity for, to engage with people who might be able to benefit from their services in Toledo, I'd love to be able to recruit them to come and use our space and have access to, to this waiver. And just because they're based in Albany doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a great public good that we want to recruit to help our people. So I think really just less barriers, right? And I think if we focus on nonprofit and say that as long as you are these types of 501c organizations, and not necessarily all 501cs, right? Because there's a range of them with different purposes. But figure out what types of organizations, what type of nonprofit organizations, and ultimately say if these are, public serving nonprofits, that they will at least be eligible for these waivers, and then council can approve, right? I don't know how we want to put the approval process, but I don't necessarily think that it should be based on where the organization is headquartered necessarily, or how much revenue they bring in, because if there is a huge nonprofit, even one that's not even headquartered technically in Oregon, if they want to use our space for something that's going to be good for our community, I want them to come.
Well, and I know this isn't a perfect analogy because it's not on the field, it's on the street, but I think about Art Oysters and Brew. It's EDELC that's doing that for us, and they're based in Waldport. So would we want to tell them, no, you can't come and host this event in Toledo? So that's a great point.
I think there's a difference there because that's
Yeah.
technically a city program that they facilitate with us.
That's another reason why it's not a great, but it was the first one that came to mind. Yeah, something similar like that, where, the United Way, as you said, or if the Red Cross wanted to come and do a big outdoor blood drive, something like that. Yeah.
Just remembering what Councilor Kaufman said about when the Thursday market, we pushed them off the streets because the commercial businesses didn't like it. So it seems not really very equitable to charge them when they used to get it for free.
No,
No, I think they paid for the street.
they paid for the
They
streets
did.
too, I thought.
There is a fee associated with this, with the street closure, but it's not at the same level that the field is.
So what, some of these organizations will have insurance waivers, some won't, perhaps.
Not insurance waivers.
Not waivers, but insurance, they have liability insurances.
Yes.
That could offset, it was mentioned we want to protect any damages being done. And that certainly would make a difference in the fee that would be charged. I mean, that's basically what we want it covered for, right? We're not looking to make money on it.
Oh, we get to make money now?
Balance that budget.
That's all we're doing, a balance in the budget. Yes, Shannon.
Shannon Herman, Toledo Summer Festival. I think there's varying degrees of use on the field as far as like damages go. SUT is definitely not bringing log trucks and giant logs and those kinds of things. And so I have a varying opinion than the rest of the board. I think personally, I feel like the fees are fine because the city does have to then clean up and maintain after we leave. So that's just my personal, aside from the board, opinion. But yeah.
You remember what you pay annually for the use of the 9 days?
$150 a day.
A little over $3,500.
For $150 a day, it's $100.
Well,
No,
no, like,
No,
a
but
little
that's
less
the
than
map
15.
out.
A little less than 15, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like $13.50 or something like that.
$13.50 exactly.
Andrew.
Yeah, and I guess I'd say that, the waivers are something that people apply for, or could be something that people apply for. And so if it is one of those situations where folks say, hey, we'd rather pay the fee, that makes sense to me, right? I think sometimes it comes down to the math of it. But I think that's maybe the spirit of just kind of making sure that if we are putting some sort of a waiver type of system in place, that we just have as few barriers as possible. But I also do think that there is a certain sort of expectation of the purpose of those fees and making sure that our interests are being protected as well.
All right.
Sorry, it's hard to get the mute button. Shannon, you're a wonderful person, and I appreciate your altruism. But to be clear, like to put this in context, the city, a couple meetings ago, made the decision to support Art, Oysters, and Brews with like $8,500, which I think is a wonderful thing for us to do because I think it's an important event. But we don't do anything like that for Summer Festival, and your impact is so much bigger than what we'll have in that other event. So I understand that there's a lot of use and things that are happening in the field, but I also think that you guys have a long track record of being a good steward. And if this is a small thing that the city can do to help your event, I personally feel strongly like it's the right thing for us to do.
Yeah, and it's a huge injection into this community.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, how many people come, give or take, per day to Summerfest?
We say about 5,000 a day, but we're working towards getting a completely accurate number.
Which is more than the actual population of our entire city.
But we sell about 3,000 buttons out every year, so. And then that's not gate sales.
So Mr. Boomer, has that helped at all, or has it made it harder?
Well, I was going to say, I will take the disparate notes and ideas that I have here. I'll work with the city attorney. I'll throw some spaghetti against the wall, and I'll bring something back at your next meeting for you to take a look at and see if I'm close to what you might envision. So I would say it helped enough. How about that?
That's great.
Very good.
It helped enough, I'm good.
Very good. Madam Mayor, before we go into RCAs, may the city manager be excused for 2 minutes, please?
Why don't we take a 5-minute break?
That's perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
we will, we're gonna adjourn for 5 minutes and we will be back at 7:17.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else festival related?
Excuse.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing else like festival related, right?
Huh?
Is there anything else on the agenda festival related?
Let me look.
I don't think so.
Okay.
If we're gonna sell.
Let's
make sure we do that. Something's designed to, destroy sometimes RDI, my dog is getting bored.
Here, isn't it?
It is.
I can see my breath. It's golden. I'm just going to, if I can shape my mister, I'll do it.
Might make no refreshment problem.
I'm just gonna run up and get more water, but I'm not super very sure why not for the personal opinion.
Because it is inclusive of all this because these people are also mostly targeted because this should be. Okay, we might choose to change that.
Well, I'm just questioning it. It seems limiting.
Okay,
But I'm okay with it, man.
all right, well, we're gonna talk about it. Are we back? Okay. So welcome back to the May 6th, 2026 City Council meeting. We are back from the 5-minute break and now we are moving on to the request for council's actions. The first item up for our consideration and is missing and murdered Indigenous persons proclamation, if I can even say that right. Mr. Huebner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So council, you may be wondering, well, why were there 2 proclamations up here and this one down here this evening? You may notice that this proposed proclamation includes an area for signature, not just of the mayor, but of all council members. And so in order to issue a proclamation of the city that is inclusive of all of our elected officials, that would require approval by the council. So we put it here for your consideration for action this evening. And I really, I want to take an opportunity to, as I begin the presentation on this, give a hat tip and recognize the proclamation that the mayor issued earlier in the meeting this evening, recognizing Mr. Johnson. This proclamation that's before you for your consideration was brought to my attention by Mr. Johnson. This is a great example of the importance of his position and of his diligence in exercising that particular role. So wanted to give credit where credit is due on having this in the agenda. So as you'll notice in the RCA, there's discussion both of the National Day of Awareness of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. There's also a full month, the month of May, that is a national recognition of missing and murdered Indigenous persons. And so the proclamation that you have in your agenda packet this evening is reflective of the month and is reflective of all missing and murdered Indigenous persons. And Paul did a really great job in putting together what's in your packet this evening and looking for examples of proclamations from the state and of other municipalities that have issued such a proclamation in the past. And I thought really put together a very well worded, he was telling me that he reviewed all of them and picked the wording from different ones that he liked the best. As you can imagine, a lot of proclamations sound very similar, but he did a really good job of picking wording that he thought was the best and reflective of our community. So the proclamation is in your packet this evening, and I am more than happy to answer any questions, but would love to have council consider issuing this as a proclamation of the city. Madam Mayor, that concludes my report. I'm available for questions.
Do we have any questions? Jackie, you had a question to me. This would be a good time to ask that.
Well, I just wondered how, and I'm in no way saying that they shouldn't be grouped in there, but the LGBTQ and the trans people, that they are not necessarily Indigenous. So I just, when I'm thinking of Indigenous people, they don't come to mind. It seems like they should have their own proclamation, or I'm just questioning why. Because the title of the proclamation, it limits it then.
So if you read the beginning of the paragraph there with the second whereas,
Yes.
It says in Oregon, spanning urban, rural, and reservation areas, American Indian and Alaska Native peoples, and then goes on to identify specific identities of individuals. But the beginning clause there, the American Indian and Alaska Native peoples, is meant to then be reflective of each of the types of identity that follow. So when it does say LGBTQIA, Two-Spirit, transgender, those are meant to be reflective of American Indian and Alaska Native peoples who identify as such.
All right, so if they're any other race or whatever,
It's meant to be reflective of American Indian and Alaska Natives who identify in those that follow.
yeah, all right, thank you, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
That was an excellent explanation.
Andrew had his hand up.
Andrew,
No, that was roughly the same answer that I was going to give.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I meant to, in my presentation, I wanted to ask Mr. Johnson, did you have anything, this was something you brought to us, did you have anything you wanted to add to my presentation at all, Paul? Okay, if you don't, I wanted to give you an opportunity.
No, I kind of do. It just, we live so many miles away from the Confederation of Siletz Indians. And I think it's important that we recognize as a community, they are a valuable part of our community. And I think traditionally, governments overlook the contribution and the people of the tribes. And I think it's important as a community that is so closely intertwined, and all the help they do in our community and in the county and the state. I think we just need to be able to recognize them and show them some type of acknowledgement that we see them and we recognize the issues that they deal with. We may not understand them, but we can at least recognize that with them. And I think that's why when this came up, it kind of hit my heart. And then when I started doing some research into it about how many people are missing in the state of Oregon and how some of there are actually people from our tribe that are missing.
I know a couple people. Yeah.
And I just think it's important that we recognize that as a part of our community, our area, our affiliations, our joint work, everything like that. And that's really the purpose behind bringing this forward today.
As eloquent as he always is. Thank you, Paul.
Do we have any more comments first?
No.
No? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Well, first of all, thank you, Paul. Appreciate you. I move to approve the proposed missing and murdered Indigenous persons proclamation as a proclamation of the city of Toledo, Oregon.
Second. It has been moved by Council President Sylvia and seconded by Councilor Burns. Could we have a roll call vote, Mr. Johnson?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I was so.
Emotional, I understand. Thank you.
Is there a question?
No,
Public comment?
Oh, did you want to open for public comment on that,
Sure.
Madam Mayor?
Is there any public comment? Anybody in the room that would like to speak to this matter? Not seeing anybody. Do we have anybody online that would like to speak to this? Thank you, Andrew, for that reminder.
And then I also wanted to ask, since this is a proclamation, at some point, does it have to be read in full, kind of like we have the proclamations at the beginning of the meeting were?
After it has been moved, seconded, and voted upon, then it will be my honor to read it in full if we decide to adopt it.
Now, the question is, do I need to remove that, since how we didn't ask for the public comment first?
Nope. You're all good. Thank you.
The motion is still on the table.
Okay, that's correct.
Councilor Riley. Councilor Burns.
She seconded, so that would be.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Councilor Keating.
Yes.
Councilor Coppin is not here. Councilor Chambers.
Yes.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Council President Sylvia.
Absolutely.
And Annex.
It would be my honor. Great. And it has passed, and with that, whereas the lasting effects of colonization and a history of oppressive policies directly correlate to the rise of violence against Indigenous persons, especially women and girls, and whereas in Oregon spanning urban, rural, and reservation areas, American Indian and Alaska Native peoples, Indigenous women, girls, men, boys, LGBTQI+, Two-Spirit, transgender, and gender nonconforming people face heightened risks of murder, sexual assault, human trafficking, exploitation, and abduction, suffering from disproportionate visibility and delayed justice. And whereas this violence is in conflict with tribal cultural values and is a threat to tribal sovereignty and compromises Indian country's ability to heal from historical trauma. And whereas the city of Toledo recognizes Missing or Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Month and joins tribal, local, regional, and national entities, organizations, advocates, families, and survivors commemorating the lives of those lost or missing. And whereas May 5th is the National Day of Awareness of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, and the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons movement spans the United States and Canada and seeks to bring awareness to the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls that has tragically affected families and communities throughout Indian country. Whereas by standing together and raising awareness, we can promote solutions to prevent and combat the exploitation and violence that many Indigenous persons face Now therefore, we, the City Council of Toledo, proclaim the month of May as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Month. Yay. And we will all have an opportunity to sign this and then submit it into our permanent record. So we'll have that available for everybody to sign after as we're meeting. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough, Paul, for bringing this up. It is a very important issue and one that we are honored to stand beside our neighbors and the other Indigenous communities of Oregon in proclaiming that. Our next item for request for council action is resolution number 1602, appropriating donations to the library in the combined amount of $7,100.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'll just point out for council that the RCA that you have in front of you this evening, it probably looks very familiar, but maybe a little bit different. And this is, you're starting to see your agenda packets in the new agenda meeting management system. And so one of the things you'll notice now is at the top, you used to have prepared by, reviewed by, and approved by. But that only gave one box, one space available for to show who had reviewed it. And so one of the things you'll notice now is we have prepared by and approved by, but then underneath is the list of all those that have approved this. I bring this to your attention because since this one has a fiscal impact, you'll note that in addition to myself and Paul, that this was also reviewed by your finance director. And you'll start to see those on your RCAs going forward. Just wanted to mention that this evening. So as the mayor mentioned in the introduction, this RCA requests council to recognize and appropriate 2 donations that were received by the Toledo Public Library. The combined amount of those donations is $7,100, and they will support youth programs and music education respectively. The 2 donations, one was for $5,000. That is the one that is supporting youth programs. The second is $2,100 to support music education. And the GL codes that those will be referred to are there on the RCA if you have any questions. Also, the library director, Harrison Baker, is with us this evening if you have any questions for him specifically. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Trying to get down to it so I can. It's not too far. Page 20? I know it's not page 20.
6. Well, while she's looking, I wanted to just kind of make a statement because we had some people ask, I think it was last year, why the city's taking the money from the library. And that's not how it happens, is to get these donations and we have to appropriate it into the right amount. But every single penny that's donated to the library goes to the library for exactly what it is.
And I appreciate that, Council President. And to your point, when an individual makes a donation to the city, it can be a general donation. Use this however you want. The donor also has the opportunity to put a specific earmark on it, as these donations did. I want this specifically to support our youth programs. And when they do, you as the city council and myself as the city manager, we don't have the option to not honor that. And so to your point, we not only are we doing exactly what you said, but that's where we are required to do that. But to your point, when we receive money, the first thing we have to do is recognize the revenue and then allocate it to the expense code where it will be expended. So that's a great clarification that you offered, and I thank you for it.
Do we have any discussion on this? Does anybody want to comment, ask questions?
What's the source of the funds?
Donations, individual people.
It says it in there somewhere.
It's mentioned in the it's mentioned on the resolution itself. So I'm probably going to butcher this name. Correct me if I mispronounce it. The Mark Sponenberg, thank you, Memorial Trust donated the $5,000.
Yes.
And a donation from Alan Beardsley is what goes toward the music education.
Other way.
Did I get that backwards?
Yeah,
Thank you.
5,000 private donation and 2,100.
Thank you, Harrison. Apologies.
The only thing I would just chime in with is, Harrison, if you can extend our gratitude to both the donors, it's really awesome that they would be generous and support the programs that you're doing, and would love to just have that passed along from the council. And if it's appropriate, Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion.
We ask for public comment first. So do we have anybody that is in the audience that would like to comment on this? See nobody. Anybody online that would like to speak to this? Comment or ask any questions? Seeing none. Yes, Mr. Chambers, I would.
All right.
love-
I move to appropriate 2 donations received by the Toledo Public Library in the combined amount of $7,100 and to support youth programs and music education, respectively.
Madam Mayor, before you ask for a second, I had a minor, not typo, but omission. Because this needs to be done by resolution, Councilor Chambers, if I could ask you to add to your motion that you also move to approve Resolution 1602.
And further move to approve Resolution 1602.
Thank you, sir.
Second. Or did Andrew second?
Andrew BJ.
Okay, it has been moved.
The online crew
Chambers,
representing.
And it has been seconded by Councilor Keating to recognize grant revenue and appropriate 2 donations received by the public library in the amount of $7,100. Do I need to read the resolution?
No.
Okay.
No, thank you for
Can we have a roll call vote, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, ma'am. Councilor Riley? Yes. Councilor Burns?
Yes, please.
Councilor Keating?
No.
No, Council President.
No, next to last, isn't it?
No, Andrew was the second.
Council President Sylvia?
Yes, sir.
Councilor Keating?
Yep.
Councilor
Yes.
Chambers?
Yes.
Mayor Mix?
Absolutely. This resolution passes with noting one counselor missing tonight, so all aboard, we're all aboard. Next council action, declaring certain property as surplus. It looks like fire equipment that we are declaring surplus.
Yes, Madam Mayor, and thank you. The motion before you from the Toledo Fire Department is to declare certain property as surplus to the city's needs and to authorize the fire department to dispose of the items through sale, lease, or donation. Those items include numerous sets of outdated and damaged personal protective equipment, a Hurst hydraulic extriction tool that was replaced over 4 years ago. The one that is proposed to be surplused was kept as a backup but is no longer serviceable. And the final item is a 2007 Chevrolet Malibu automobile that was previously assigned to the Public Works Director position. It has a damaged transmission. The fire department retained it for practice purposes, but it's beyond its usable life and is no longer operative. The one note that I would add to this is that the National Fire Protection Association has a recommended lifespan for all personal protective equipment, and the items that are proposed for surplus have exceeded that recommendation. So it's not just we want to replace these. It's very much in line with national policy. That concludes my report. I'm available for any questions.
So with that car, can they not use it for like burning exercises, trying to get patients out of burnt car? Or?
They've used it for practice to a point where it doesn't meet their needs anymore.
Really practicing in it.
That I don't know. I just know that they used it for drills and
Okay.
Yep.
Wife, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't that up. Couldn't imagine.
I can't think of anything else. So
I think it's really tempting to fix that transmission and get it back into the use for the Public Works Director. I'd love to see Brian rolling in the 2007 Malibu.
he's not in the audience this evening, Councilor Chambers, but I will make sure to let him know you recommended that.
Can I make that motion?
I think it's a convertible.
See?
My next question is when somebody makes a motion, do they need to state the full thing, 1, 2, and 3 as well?
Oh, thank you for that, Council President. No, if you wanna read up to or donation, that is sufficient for our needs.
Oh, is there any public comment in the audience? No? How about online? Do we have anybody online that would like to speak to this? Questions, comments? You are not online.
I know, just before somebody makes a motion, I have a
Yes,
quick
sir.
point. Thank you. So to Council President Sylvia's question, the way the motion was worded would be to declare the below listed property. So if you read it that way, yes, you would have to read the whole thing. So if somebody wants to avoid that, I would say motion to declare certain property.
But
And
how
then
about
from
the
there.
surplus property?
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, that's kind of,
Okay. I make a motion to declare the below listed property as surplus to the city's needs and to authorize the Toledo Fire Department to dispose of the items through sale, lease, or donation. Number 1, numerous sets of outdated and damaged personal protective equipment. Number 2, a Hearst hydraulic extraction. Is that supposed to be extraction?
yeah.
No, I checked. It is, extraction is correct.
Extraction tool that was replaced over 4 years ago but retained as a backup and which is no longer serviceable. And number 3, a 2007 Chevy Malibu automobile previously assigned to the Public Works Director position, which has a damaged transmission and is no longer operative.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved by Council President Sylvia and seconded by Councilor Burns. And to declare surplus property of the fire department as surplus to the city's needs and to authorize the Toledo Fire Department to dispose of the items through sale, lease, or donation. Mr. Johnson, could we have a roll call vote?
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Riley,
Yes.
Counselor Keating,
Yes.
Counselor Chambers,
Yes.
Counselor Burns,
Yes.
Council President Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
Mayor Mix.
Yes. Now there's one suggestion I have that, you could just take the transmission out, cut a hole in the floor. And it would be like a
Flintstone mobile. As soon as you said cut the hole.
A
Yeah.
Flintstones Malibu convertible
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
right, and it's already, go ahead,
Harrison.
Harrison.
I think the word is extrication.
Well, we won't terminate his employment over it.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I didn't know if it mattered to like listing it or something.
No, I
Maybe that
actually,
person-
Because he knew I was gonna be doing the motion, he wanted to confuse me. It's that
He does
easy.
that to me too. I think he just makes them up. He's like, she won't know.
I'm not gonna throw anybody else under the bus, so you're right. Thank you, Harrison. No, it does not. That would be a Scrivener's error.
Okay, wonderful. I think we'll look. Now on to our next item, a request for city council action. Approval of collateral lease assignment and tripartite agreement. Is that a word?
It is. At least I assume so, because I am gonna throw somebody under the bus on this one. That is your city attorney's word.
Agreement related to Olala Meadows housing project.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And as I mentioned to the council in email, this item was added after the initial publication of the agenda. I just want to make sure that I state that on the record. These agreements were provided to the city in a timeframe that did not enable us to have them fully reviewed in time for that initial publication. It has been conveyed to us by Northwest Coastal Housing that they do need these agreements in order to finalize and close on their funding. So we did feel it was necessary to add them to the agenda after publication rather than delay Northwest Coastal Housing's closing by another 2 weeks. So just wanted to state on the record why that was added after the initial publication. So there are the two agreements that are asked for the city to authorize. The first, the collateral assignment of lease. This is an agreement between Olala Meadows and its lender, the Housing Assistance Council. The city is being asked to acknowledge the collateral agreement and to subordinate its interest to the lender, which is typical in affordable housing projects. Olala Meadows, as you'll recall from the last time you had an item from related to this project on your agenda, Olala Meadows is the LLC that took the place of Northwest Coastal Housing per their typical business practice. So Northwest Coastal Housing assigned their lease to an LLC that they designated specifically for this project. So that's where Olala Meadows LLC comes in. Olala Meadows is securing the loan to develop the property by using their interest in the ground lease with the city as collateral. The city is being asked to acknowledge that and also to subordinate its lease in the project so that Olala Meadows can close the deal and secure funding. Council has previously contemplated subordinating its interest as necessary for Northwest Coastal Housing and its subsidiary LLC to secure funding. This agreement is in further of that. This is before the council because the funding agency is a nonprofit corporation, the main lender, in addition to the next agreement, which involves the state. So that, again, the collateral assignment of lease. The second agreement is the tripartite agreement, and that lovely fancy word for you, Madam Mayor, is three parties. It is real. So this is an agreement between the city, Oregon Housing and Community Services Department, OCHS, the state, and Olala Meadows LLC. This agreement contains standard language used by OCHS whenever it assists with financing affordable housing projects. This is before council because the city is a party to this agreement, and this agreement amends the lease between the city and Olala Meadows. This agreement requires prior approval from OCHS to terminate the lease or amend it, and requires that the city will meet its obligations under the lease for the life of the state's required affordability period, which is until December 31st, 2057. Finally, if the city terminates the lease with Olala Meadows in a way that precludes Olala Meadows from meeting its obligation to the state, the city must maintain the property in accordance with the state's requirements until the end of the state's affordability period. I would like to just add in a kind of a commentary on this, that one of the concerns that the city attorney and I both had when we initially reviewed this agreement was we were worried that it made it where if Olala Meadows defaulted on their funding, that the city would be responsible for taking over that funding agreement. That's not the case. What it requires is that the city basically would take possession of the agreement and maintain the development as affordable housing. We would have the right as the city to either manage it ourselves or to bring in a replacement contracted agency, which Olala Meadows is in this case. So that was something that I made sure to ask the city attorney to get clarification on. It would not require the city to take over those leases. It requires us to maintain it as affordable housing and affords us the opportunity to find a replacement contracted vendor. Savani, do you have anything you wanted to add on either of these items this evening?
Yes, so on the tripartite agreement, just going off that point that you just mentioned. So in practice, there are two parties ahead of the city that have an interest in maintaining this property. As a going concern for the lender, they just need it to be in business and making money. And if it isn't, then the lender would step into the shoes of Olala Meadows, and then also the state. So both with respect to the affordability concern that the city has, that the city wants this to continue as affordable housing, and that the city doesn't want it to just remain empty because Olala Meadows stops paying their lender. There are two additional parties that would have an interest in making sure that those things happen and taking over if they don't. So all that to say that the city actually stepping into the shoes of Olala Meadows is pretty unlikely to happen in practice, because a lot of different things would have to happen, and those other two parties would have to not be involved in a significant way for the city to step in before they did. So that's kind of the worst case scenario, that the city would have to be responsible for managing this property, or more likely finding a manager to run it as affordable housing during the state's affordability period.
Counselor Chambers.
So I came into this one kind of late because it was underway before I was appointed to the council. So I'm not as familiar with the project probably as most of the council is, but which interest are we subordinating? Is it the land beneath the prospective development, or is it is it the public works improvement that we made? What's the financial interest that we're subordinating?
So the city has two things. So the city owns the land underneath outright. It is leasing the land to Alala Meadows, so there's that interest, and then also has granted an SDC waiver to the housing project.
Yeah.
So it's not a direct
Well-
financial interest, but those would be the two things that we couldn't collect on before the lender.
And the idea is with the SDC waiver, the idea is that that's secured against, like, if they cease to operate in the intended purpose, then they would owe us for the SDC.
Correct.
Okay. So I have a ton of heartburn on this one, and I don't want to get in the way of it because this is a deal that the city's been working on for a long time.
You're not alone, so
Okay.
please voice
Perfect.
it.
So my concern, I mean, one, I think we made this way too complicated. Like we should have just given them the land that is of almost no value to us, and which would be a better alternative in my mind than any scenario that would lead us to be even the remote possibility of being an affordable housing landlord until 2057. I guess if we could go back in time, that would have been my preference, and probably the same with the SDC waiver. I mean, the spirit of the waiver is that we understand what the purpose is going to be, but at the end of the day, we're going to have the public infrastructure in place. The SDC has been paid with general fund. I probably wouldn't have supported that to begin with, but here we are. And so
It's not paid with general fund. The SDC is paid by the city council strategic fund.
The strategic fund is still part of your overall general fund.
Okay.
Anything that's not your utilities is your general fund.
Okay.
So that's I mean, that broadly, that's my concern. Like, I'm not concerned about clawing the SEC back. We're never going to get it anyway. I hate the idea, any remote possibility that we're going to own this property and control it, and that we're committing to do that for 30 years. It just seems awful to me, but that's just my perspective.
Well, I kind of have a problem with this whole thing being brought to council this quick, only because this is a hot topic with our community and we gave them zero chance to come in and talk about it.
So kind of to address both of those points, the tripartite agreement, which is the agreement that includes that provision that the city might have to step in. This is a standard agreement from the state. We've dealt with these as a firm pretty regularly, and we have found none that do not include these provisions. So in essence, this is a take it or leave it offer from the state. And if the city doesn't sign on, then there's a significant possibility that the deal will not go through, not just in the next couple of weeks, but ever. So it's not, we've presented it as a council approval item, but the state doesn't really give you any options with respect to this type of an agreement. Another aspect of this is, I think Rich and I weren't around when the lease was signed. We were here for the SDC waiver piece of it, but the tripartite agreement and these standard provisions weren't something that we were specifically aware of until they were presented to us in the last week. So I think that
if we conveyed our interest in the land, would we even have to be a party to the agreement?
That's a good question.
I don't know. See, I don't think so.
I'd rather do that.
I don't think so, but I don't know what the terms of the lease were. There could be very strong reasons on Northwest Coastal Housing and now Alala Meadows part that they were interested in a ground lease, but wouldn't be interested in the fee or to own the land outright. So I don't know what the circumstances of that deal was, but I know that it's an unfortunate situation that we've presented for council's approval without really very many options. If council intends to proceed and continue this project as everyone anticipated. Understanding that these are, it's the terms are even if this is a very outside remote possibility, the terms are not, not what we would suggest, not what we would propose, but because it's a circumstance of the state's funding and it's a take it or leave it agreement, essentially. We wanted to present it to council as an approval item for that reason, just to make sure that you all are aware that these are the circumstances.
I lost a little sleep over this one. I have had experience in the private sector with something of a tripartite agreement where we were involved in subordinating our interests to another party and ended up getting stuck with the entire bag. And it cost quite a lot of money. And of course, we had lots of assurances. The state was not involved and it was not reviewed by an attorney like Savani. So we lacked those assurances. That is really the only thing that makes me feel even remotely comfortable with this, is the fact that I know that both Rich and Savani have done their due diligence. I know they both question this, have done all the research necessary to protect the city's interests. And I definitely appreciate the fact that Savani is also part of a larger firm that has vast experience with this and has not run into this as an issue. Eric, I really liked the idea that you brought of we should have just given them the land. I don't know why we didn't. I don't know why we couldn't have, or could or couldn't have. Maybe it had to do with the SDV. Maybe we couldn't have given them a waiver if we gave them the land. I don't know. That may be part of it. I could only speculate. But I do know a lot of that has already been a done deal, and it would be really damaging, I think, for us to go back at this point and try to say, hey, but wait, we don't want to do it this way now. I think we could very possibly lose that affordable housing for our community, and I don't think we can afford it. I don't know if anybody has a different perspective on that, but that's just my take on it.
Well, my concern wasn't about the approval. My concern was that this got brought to us 2 days ago, and the community who this is the hot topic about didn't have time to digest it and come and talk to us if they had, because we asked for public comment and this kind of was just done quick. That's my problem, is that there's a lot of people, frankly, they're pissed off about this. And we didn't really give them a chance to come and talk to us about it.
I do understand that, and
This part, not the whole thing, but this part here.
And I understand that. I don't think that we can wait until our next meeting then.
How soon does this have to be agreed to?
Ideally, the signed versions will be in the mail on their way to the closing office tomorrow morning. And they've already extended at least once that we know of.
No rush.
Here to the fire.
Now, with that said, when Savani brought it to my attention and hey, these, I asked her, this was last week, when did you get these? And she said, I got one of them the previous Tuesday and the other one the previous Friday. So in as neutral of a manner as I can state this, the timing in which you received them, council, is also very reflective of a very delayed submission to the city, which has been acknowledged by Northwest Coastal Housing's legal counsel. So the closing, Ms. Savani mentioned, has been extended. That's by their funder. If it was simply a matter of, are we delaying Northwest Coastal Housing? What I conveyed to their CEO when she came in and spoke to my staff while I was in a meeting and told them, we need these agreements. They're holding up our closing. What I conveyed to her was, then you should have submitted them sooner, because I don't just sign documents that are submitted to me. I have them reviewed by my highly qualified legal counsel. So I do very much understand the concern about timing the council is expressing this evening. And as I mentioned in my presentation, if there wasn't an issue of timing of the closing of the agreement, I wouldn't have even added them to the agenda. But we did feel that the best thing would be to put them on the agenda. I do very much understand the concern about the late notice, but at least put them on the agenda and give you the opportunity to discuss and decide whether to take action.
Andrew? Did you have a comment or a question you wanted to ask?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I kind of want to say something else. Regarding public comment on this, we did already have a public hearing, did we not? Once upon a time.
You had discussion in a very general nature of not so much a specific public hearing, but there was discussion amongst the council of the city's understanding of the need to subordinate the lease. So the general overall topic of the agreements has been discussed in previous meetings.
And that's actually what I was referring to. I was actually referring to the existence of the entire project and the city's involvement in that.
Yes.
And so we have already had a while it's not pointedly on this specific issue, we have had a robust discussion. You know, we've had robust conversations in the public. We have heard from the public about this. And the city has actually already made its decision that we were going to go forward with this. This is kind of like, oops, we missed this form in the packet. It's a little bit more serious than that. And I don't mean to take it lightly, but I also understand the need for us to, we may grudgingly do it, but the need to assist them in meeting that deadline so the project does still follow through and happen, because we owe it to our constituents. We owe it to those in our community that very much need that housing.
Oh, I agree. It's just the optics of this quick rush is going to be really bad for some of our community members.
And I wish it was avoidable. I really do. I wish we could say, hey, we want to go ahead and have a public hearing and hear from the people or whatever, what would we do? But it doesn't sound like we have the luxury of time.
Question.
Yes, Bill.
Where is this property located?
Out off of 18th Street. You head out past, take a right at the duck park, and you're heading towards Ammon.
Before you get to 18th Street.
Yes.
It's
Right?
on the right,
Yes.
where a big barn was.
Yes.
There was a field.
Yes. It's above, it is just above the floodplain.
Yep.
So there's been a lot of public accusations that it's within the floodplain, but it actually is not.
Yeah, it's not in the marsh.
And so, but it is just out of it. So there's been a lot of public misunderstanding of that, unfortunately, which is where we've got a lot of the public outcry.
Well, and what kind of, even though it's above the floodplain, case in point, Safeway in Newport was going to take on another business in their place.
Winco.
Winco
Yeah, Winco is gonna go in there.
is not going to go in there.
Not yet.
They won't go in there. No business will go in there because that was built on sand. They had to upgrade that 3 different times before they finally got it stabilized. And interesting, plumbing wise, it is a wreck.
Interesting.
So that will not happen.
Yeah.
I had heard that the closure of Safeway was delayed. I hadn't heard a reason why. That's fascinating. Wow.
I would
So
expect
that would be my concern.
yeah, whether or not the proper geological surveys
Well,
have
and
been
they're
done.
gonna have a problem building and then, yeah, it's above the floodplain, but what's below the flood?
Mr. Mix.
Enlighten us, please.
So I was the planning commissioner, well, we annexed or we changed the zoning on the land, all the whole process. And that came up approving the building. Was my same concern that there's no rock in that dirt, it's just gonna sink into the thing. And so they were supposed to have a geo study.
A geotech
Yeah.
study or something done.
So supposedly that's,
I thought that was already done.
Because when they came back, I think it was 2 years later, and they had to extend it, and they said that they had that, and so they got extended.
You gotta get that mad.
I know this isn't necessarily time for public comment, and I'm kind of running this willy-nilly, but Nicole had her hand raised and wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I did miss some of this.
Microphone, please, Nicole.
Please don't throw the chair when you're done, that's not necessary.
Yeah, no. I know I missed some of this, so my apologies. What's that? Oh, Nicole. Hello, I'm Nicole Moody. I missed some of this, so my apologies, but am I to understand that contracts were sent late in the game? And now you guys are being forced to sign and then turn them in immediately?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so as a contracts manager for many years, like, it's not good faith to do that. I think you guys could legitimately ask for like a moment to like go through those contracts, because people do that all the time, but it's not good, it's not good faith.
Yeah, it was done. So our staff took that moment to make sure they were thoroughly reviewing the contracts. Rich refused to sign anything.
Or put it on the agenda.
Or until it went to Savani.
Okay.
It's, that's the one note in my RCA, and thank you for that comment very much. That's the one note in the RCA that I hadn't read, is that both agreements were reviewed and approved as to form by the city attorney. And
Awesome.
yeah, that I flat out told him, this won't go on the agenda until I have my city attorney review it. So, yeah.
So where are we? I'm lost now.
Well, we're still discussing.
Well, yeah.
You're on the dais.
We're discussing this. You know, it's a hot issue. The timing's not great, and I really appreciate our staff's diligence and not just saying, oh well, we got to sign something else. There you go. I'm grateful for that more than they will ever know.
May I ask?
Absolutely.
So I really like Eric's idea. It makes a lot of sense. And I thought, I heard that the concerns were the optics of it. Maybe I'm not understanding that accurately, but rushing it, what seems like rushing it through to our constituents is again optics, so.
Well, we're not rushing it to our, it was given it to us late in the game.
Right.
And now they're saying, oh, deadline, we need this. And, you know, our options are agree to it or don't agree to it and risk that we don't end up with this housing here.
So the one thing that I would say is, while the lender has attempted to rush, as we were stating a moment ago, we as the city let them know that we will not be rushed. I'll add this to the agenda before I'll sign it and put it on Friday before I'm comfortable actually asking my council to do it. So I do agree that the optics of that it wasn't on the agenda on Friday, that it was added the day before the meeting. I'm not wild about that, but I would have rather had that than have put it on the agenda without Savani completing her review and telling me, yes, I support the city entering this, and then having to pull it off, you know, the day of. So your council, I agree with everyone's opinions that have been worded in different ways, but all expressing that the optics aren't great. And I do agree, and I respect that. And I'm gonna, as I told you in my interview process, I'm gonna be open and transparent with you. I'm gonna tell you how we got here. I'm gonna tell you what you're being asked to do, and I'll tell you that I'm not wild about it either. But the fact that I did bring it before you lets you know, as the mayor said, that myself and the city attorney have reviewed that. I'll never bring anything this weighty or even close to this weighty without that process.
I have one question. Eric, since you mentioned we should have just given it to them, which was a fantastic idea. You know, I like it. But
I still like it.
I still like it. But my question is this. So we sign this, and for some reason, the first time ever, things go south. Savani, if it goes south, can we abandon our interest in that property so we do not get stuck managing a low-income housing unit?
Well, the issue is that you own the property, so I don't know who you could abandon it to.
Take it at that point.
You could sell it. You could sell it with the encumbrance that says someone has to operate this as an affordable housing project for the period of the loan. You could enter into a new lease with a new manager that would occupy the building and run it as affordable housing. And so to address some of the points that have come up, these agreements themselves, and this is the first time that these have been presented before council, but this is not the first time that these concepts have come before council. To your point earlier, Mayor Mix, the city has had extensive discussions on this. I think Rich talked about, we had discussed the need to subordinate the lien or the interest in the property in the lease itself to secure funding so that this project can go forward. And because it is a lease, because the city owns the property, if Alala Meadows were to default and there were no other property parties involved, that's effectively what would happen anyway, is the city would have to take that property back and find something to do with it. The only difference is it wouldn't necessarily have to run it as an affordable housing project. So all of these are concepts that the city has been discussing with the public and amongst the council for a long time. It's just that they've showed up in this slightly different way before the council now based on what the other parties are doing to close out this deal.
Thank you. Judy?
If my memory is correct, I believe that Northwest Coastal Housing didn't want to own that property. They wanted the city to lease it to them, and I'm guessing it's because of keeping it off the tax rolls, so they don't have to pay taxes on it, property taxes on it. I'm not sure about that, but I know that they wanted the lease.
Well, I figured there was some sort of a valid reason, and I appreciate you.
But that wouldn't even make a ton of sense because they're still going to own the improvements, which is going to be the vast majority of the value of the property. The land itself, I mean, we'd be lucky if we're making like $1,500 a year in property taxes off of that or something, and that's to all taxing jurisdictions. So I can't. I mean, there might be valid reasons why they didn't want to own the property, but I can't imagine the tax avoidance would be high on the list.
Okay. What are our next steps here, Rich?
Well, the item is in the agenda packet with a recommended motion. So the next step would be to entertain a motion if there are counselors interested in doing so. I do, Madam Mayor, Councilor Keating raised his hand.
Andrew?
Yeah, I just had one small note, and that's to say that one of the benefits of, the public meeting setting is as much as we weren't able to get the kind of public engagement that we would have liked on a topic like this, one nice thing about having this discussion in such a public forum like this that is recorded, video, all of that, is that people can see how difficult this is, right? They can see the situation that we're in. They can see how we're struggling with the decision. And I think that that's a really important thing for our community to recognize, is that we're not taking this decision lightly, whatever direction we go with it, and that if we're moving in a direction that doesn't feel very good to people in the community, I think they can see that it doesn't feel good to us either.
Yeah, Andrew, that's a valid comment. I would entertain a motion.
Right, reluctantly, I move to approve and authorize the city manager to execute the collateral assignment of lease and the tripartite agreement related to the Olala Meadows housing agreement.
I reluctantly second.
It has been reluctantly, I will echo, reluctantly moved by City Council President Sylvia and seconded by Councilor Keating. Could we have a vote, Mr. Johnson?
Councilor Riley?
reluctantly.
Counselor Burns.
I'm really stuck. I'm stuck. Can I vote stuck?
You can abstain if you would like to.
Yeah, I can't. I just can't. I don't like it.
Will you vote yes or no, or you can abstain? So it's one or the
I'll
other.
abstain. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Counselor Chambers.
No.
Counselor Keating.
I'm gonna change mine to no. It's fine.
I'm a no on this.
Council President Sylvia.
Only because we don't have a choice, these people will lose their housing, otherwise, yes. I can't do it to the people to say no.
I still don't know if we have enough votes. Reluctantly, mine is a yes.
Mayor Mix, we have a 3-2-1.
Can I change
One,
mine?
which is 3 yeas, 2 nays, 1 abstention, and 1 absent.
Can I change mine?
She wanted to change hers to no.
We don't-
Instead of abstain.
I think that's a question I'm going to defer to the city attorney. So Savani, we had started the roll call. Councilor Burns abstained. The final vote with that abstention was 3-2-1. She's asking if she can change her vote. What's your thought on, after a vote's been recorded, changing?
I mean, I think before the vote is called, it's certainly not best practice, and I wouldn't recommend it.
We can redo it.
That motion didn't pass anyway. So we can do another motion, or we can let it lie and figure out what our next steps are. No,
Savani, if there are 6 council members present.
there's 6 of us.
So if the vote was 3-2-1, does the 3 qualify as a quorum when there are 6 members present? Or a
And with the
majority, I should
and with the
say?
abstention.
Yes, because you have 5 and 3 would carry.
Yeah, that's right. The abstention doesn't count as a vote. So it was 5 voting members, 3 in favor.
And, okay, so do we want to continue with this vote, or is there a desire to
A
change?
point of order, somebody who voted yes could call for a reconsideration. Only someone from the prevailing side can call for reconsideration, I believe, within the same meeting or the immediately following business meeting, if I remember correctly.
I will call for reconsideration.
Then it has to be seconded. I will second it.
Madam Mayor, let me look that up real quick, just to make sure we do it right.
Thank you, Paul.
Sorry, guys. No,
Don't apologize.
do not apologize. They have put us in an untenable situation here, and we have to vote our consciences.
It just feels so creepy.
Actually, I'm not sure if I can second it, but I think I can. I think the motion just has to be by the person by someone who was on the prevailing side.
Said yes.
I think you're correct. That's why I didn't speak up when you did.
Man, I've read our city council rules a few too many times, I think.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I would like to read the overview real
Please do.
quick, just so we can all be on the same page.
Absolutely.
Motion to reconsider is a formal request asking a decision-making body to re-examine a previous ruling, vote, or order. It is typically used to highlight errors of law or fact, introduce new evidence, or address changed circumstances within a strict, often short time frame. For example, 10 to 30 days. Key aspects of the motion to reconsider. Purpose: to convince the board or council that their previous decision was incorrect or based on incomplete information. Grounds for motion: changes in law, newly discovered evidence, or clear error in the initial decision. In Robert's Rule of Orders and parliamentary procedure, a motion to reconsider must be made by a member who voted on the prevailing side, usually on the same day or the next, to revisit a vote. If granted, the previous decision is set aside and the matter is re-examined. I do not believe that the change of a vote would be grounds to amend motion to reconsider. Because no new facts have been presented. There's not a change in law. If we're to, what it suggests. Incorrect.
What do you think about what he just read?
You read my mind, Frank. Savani, would you concur with Paul's interpretation?
I think there might be a separate, so yes, on motion to reconsider. I think there may be a separate.
In Oregon, it says that the reconsideration asks an agency to review its own ruling due to an error, overlooked facts, or new evidence.
But that's after the vote has concluded and been called, correct? It seems.
Technically, I did report the outcome.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yes,
Then we
I
are
did.
situation. Then I think I think under both Robert's Rules of Order and the motion for reconsideration where the voting has been closed. So the timing, the critical timing piece would be the closure of the motion or the resolution, the vote, which happens when it's called.
So even though we were still voting and she said she wanted to change her vote?
Madam Mayor, I had already reported the voting outcome with her abstention.
Okay.
Of 3-2-1-1, meaning 3 yeas, 2 nays, 1 abstention, and 1 absence.
I think what the mayor's trying to say is that during the vote, Jackie was asking about changing her vote. I don't know if that matters, but and I feel like that's what I remember seeing, but maybe we have to look at the tape. I don't know. It's like
That was as council president of this voting, I said I want to change my vote. So it hadn't closed at that time, but it didn't get acknowledged.
I would like to consider some more information.
Well, I have some additional information to provide, and I am concerned. So if that's the direction of council, I do think I remember Councilor Burns saying something before the voting had closed, even though we all proceeded. So I would defer to the mayor and council as to their practice on that, because it seems like we may have skipped ahead when Councilor Burns was requesting an opportunity to change the vote.
Can we reconsider it to listen to the additional information that Savani is providing?
I think the proper order, because the way what Paul read was that a motion to reconsider is based on new information, change of law, that type of thing. So I think the proper order would be to have the city attorney provide the additional information that she has.
Okay.
And then council can then decide based on that new information if they would like to consider a motion to reconsider. Savani, would you agree with that?
Yes, that's a motion to reconsider, and I think that because Councilor Burns had requested before the voting closed that we may have a wrinkle there too, but we can start under the motion to reconsider and the additional information. So one of my concerns, being your lawyer and being a lawyer, is that I am trained to provide you with a worst case scenario and all the risks that come along with that. But I'm also not supposed to direct you on policy decisions. And that can be a pretty fine line at times. And I think it comes up in situations like this where there's been a project that the city has been working towards for a very long time. Northwest Coastal Housing has been working towards it for a very long time. The city already made decisions with respect to the lease, with respect to the with respect to the lease, with respect to the funding obligations. The piece of information that I don't have in front of me that I would need to check is whether if the city fails to authorize this agreement, whether it would in fact be in violation of the lease. So some of these decisions, as I mentioned, are new in the form of this agreement, but they're not necessarily new to the city. So the city has already obligated itself to allow Northwest Coastal Housing to develop this property in this way and use it for this purpose. And Northwest Coastal Housing has gone out and taken different actions based on that. So this actually, if council is truly considering a no vote, then I might recommend that we go into executive session so that we can talk about what that could mean. And so that I have some time to review the lease and just make sure that there's nothing in there that I don't need to advise council about.
Savani, can we reconsider the previous question and just undo the vote entirely and then either table this to the next meeting or go into executive session?
Yes.
That would be my recommendation.
Are we able to go into executive, tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noticing?
Yeah, you can call an executive session when new information comes up in a council meeting. Savani, am I correct on that?
That's correct.
So what do we need to do, Savani, to undo the previous council action that's under question?
Put it on hold.
So I would
Can I suggest that I'm wondering if even discussing that might need to happen in executive session, and I feel like I have some thoughts on that I'm not really sure that should be stated in the public meeting if we are talking about an executive session.
I was actually going to suggest that we do the executive session, have the discussion on all items of pertinent interest, and then at that time, council can come out of executive session and decide at that point whether they want to undo their previous action. Does that sound good?
I think that would work well too with the motion to reconsider because new information has been given. You need time to listen to that.
But we need a venue where we can be given all of the information that we need to properly make this decision.
So there is new information that would
Yes.
legitimize the motion for reconsideration.
So hearing all that, I think I would like to, do we need a motion to table this until an executive session, or do we just move past it, finish the rest of our meeting, and then come back to it, or how do we want to do this? Do we want to stop now, go into executive session? I mean, we have Harrison and we have our finance director here that I'm sure they don't want to be here all night.
I'm going to release the staff at this point, let them go home. I think because the potential of a motion to reconsider requires the discussion of the potential new information, I think we just pause the meeting at this point. We take a break from this meeting, a recess, that's the word I was looking for, go into the executive session, we can then reconvene this meeting, and at that point, council can consider whether a motion to reconsider is appropriate.
And that gives Savani the time that she needs to actually get into this and get the information for us that she needs to find.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
10 minutes?
With that, I'm going to suspend
Recess.
this regular city council meeting, and we will at 8:27, and we will be entering executive session at 8:37. And welcome back to the Toledo City Council regular meeting. We are reconvening our meeting after a recess to enter into executive session and consider some information. But we are back now.
And for the record, we are reconvening at 9:16 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
I'd like to withdraw my request to change my vote.
Okay. Councilor Burns has withdrawn her request to reconsider her vote. With that, our vote on this matter stands.
And Madam Mayor, just for the record, I would like to state on the record that after consultation with the city charter, it has been determined that an abstention does not count against the number of votes needed on an action item. What the charter states is that a majority is needed to conduct business. So we had, even with Councillor Burns's abstention, we had 5 council members voting on the motion. Those 5 constituted a majority of the quorum, and there were 3 votes in favor, 2 against. So the 3 constitute a majority of the voting members of the council, which themselves constituted a quorum. So the 3-2-1 vote is does signify passage of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Herdner, for explaining that to us.
City Attorney, did I cover that in full detail? Anything you would add?
You did. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you guys still want me to clarify why or anything, or can we move on?
Just move on. I think that's up to council.
I think we're ready to move on. Next item. Actually, should we open the doors and let people in?
Yep, Paul's on. Thank you, Paul.
We're gonna pause for just half a second. We're not gonna leave, we're just gonna pause.
Take a moment to enter into the record my corporeal form.
That was fantastic. Thank you. Andrews, I am now physically in the room. Councilmember Keating's corporeal form entered the room prior to the start of the 8:37 p.m. executive session.
Eric on the other stand, we're not sure.
He's somewhere.
Stuck at the airport Sheridan for 2 more nights.
You lucky guy. Madam Mayor, the next item on the agenda is staff reports, and in the interest of the lateness of the hour, I would recommend dispensing with that item at this juncture, if that's acceptable.
I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Does the council find that acceptable? You betcha. Yep, that's affirmative.
Very good. The next item is the issue tracker and future agenda items. We have added, as part of our discussion this evening, to the May 27th work session, discussion of public comment guidelines and fireworks guidelines. Does council have any other items they would like to add to that meeting or any other future meetings?
Yes, the one that I brought up to you a couple times about discussing the time card for counselors and stipends to make it easier on our bookkeeping.
Got it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just speaking.
I have 2 things I would like to add. I'm just messing with people. I have 2 things that I would like to add. I had I'll just put it out there. I had a call today from our fantastic city recorder, and he brought up an idea, and it's a very good idea. We have talked many times up on this council about how we need to outreach to our youth. We had discussed having a youth council. A little late in the school year to do that. I think that we can still delay that until the beginning of next year, so I don't want to add that to the agenda. But what I do want to add is recognition of our Toledo graduates. Paul brought up that is something that is sometimes done, and I think that it would be fantastic. I would love to get a list of the graduates from our principal, and then I would like us as a city to recognize their hard work and you know, it's not always the easiest thing to finish high school. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes it's not, especially in a small community like ours where a lot of these individuals quit school and go into the natural resources industry, such as fishing or logging. And I think it's fair and beneficial to the entire community for us to recognize them and give them our support. And so I guess what I'm looking for is maybe a consensus from the council for us to bring that to our next meeting. And I don't know if we want to flesh it out or have staff flesh it out for us, some sort of a process by which to do that. And maybe we just bring it to our next meeting and we discuss it and flesh out what we want to do. Eric, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's great. I would just probably not the time for it, but we could all just also go to graduation and ask Chloe to just recognize that the city council is there, and I think that that might go a long way to showing, you know, our support for the graduates also.
The other thing I was thinking of is a certificate, you know, like they're gonna get their diploma and stuff, but what about a certificate and a letter from the city acknowledging all their hard work to get where they are? This is the first of many accomplishments that they will have in life. And I used to always tell my kids, if you can't make it through high school, how do you know you're gonna stick with anything else? And I'm not saying that to dock those that don't for some reason, but setting a goal and meeting the goal and doing the work to get there is it's a lifelong journey, and it's something that we recognize early on. And I think that I like the idea of us going to graduation. I would be fully open to doing that, but I also would like to give them something in their hands that says, see, look, my city has acknowledged my accomplishment and they are proud of me. And they can carry that with them.
I don't know enough about like our private school system, but do we have private schools in the area as well where Toledo students might be graduating, where we would want to be able to include them?
Some of our students here in Toledo do go to Eddyville, some do go to Slots as well.
And some go to the South Beach Christian School as well.
And some are homeschooled.
Right.
That's true.
Right. So I think I'd want to make sure that we're not, you know, kind of exclusively focusing on just one school that our Toledo, you know, kids are graduating from.
See, I think these are things we need to flesh out.
Yeah.
So
So
I would like to bring this to our next meeting.
I was just gonna say, I've put it down as a discussion for the next meeting in order to give as much time between discussion and graduation.
Okay, that's number one.
Hold on, before we move from that, the parade through town for our seniors is June 3rd. They're actually gonna make a loop through Main Street twice.
that's for Toledo.
Toledo High School, yes.
Toledo High School.
They're gonna start at the high school, they're gonna come down Business 20, go down Main Street twice.
We went out and like cheered for them and stuff from the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so, just put that on your calendars, it starts at 6:26. This is the first time I think that they're doing 2 trips around the city.
Oh, so we have a city council meeting that night.
We did last year too.
We did too. So what we can do is we can break from the city council meeting and take a recess and go out there and wait on and then come back to our meeting like we did the last time.
I was gonna tell you that you'd have to let me because my son's in that grade. So either you let me or I just don't come to council.
Now, Mayor, I know we need to flesh this out a little bit, but my thought was that meeting would have been the perfect time to invite them into the meeting to give whatever we end up, or to do whatever we end up doing.
That door and out that door.
I just don't know how to make it happen before then. We don't have lists, we don't know who, we don't
There's
know how.
45 graduates.
From Toledo alone.
Yes.
But that's not counting Eddyville, that's not counting residents of Eddyville. I mean, we could contact Eddyville School, Select School, and I can contact
Yeah.
South Christian School.
This is where I think you're right, Mayor, that it would require further discussion, because I have extremely strong feelings about supporting the school that is in our community. And I understand that we have residents who go to other schools, but I like to chase down every single graduate from Toledo, homeschooled, going to any district school, going to a private school. I feel like there's a good opportunity here to have a celebration of students at our school, at our public school here in Toledo.
And I think even if it's just a matter of like having an invitation open, that if folks who live in Toledo, it doesn't have to be us necessarily going out. This is where that discussion could be valuable. It doesn't need to be us going to each school and calling up every homeschool family, that kind of thing. I think even if it's just a matter of saying like, if you are a Toledo resident who went to another school and you're graduating, like you're welcome to this as well. But they kind of have to come to us is also an okay.
Sure.
solution.
Yeah. But I think there is a great opportunity here for us to have a partnership with our school. And I don't. Yeah.
I just had a brain fart. You mentioned that we could. Distracted me. You mentioned how it would be great if we could just go to graduation. What if we arranged to hand out the certificate and the letter at the graduation? They get their diploma, they get the acknowledgement from the city. I could stay up there and give a little spiel if the school would allow me to. We have to talk to them about, okay, Rich could get up and give this.
No. I was actually going to say I nominate the mayor to be the one to
But we're flushing out right now.
I don't know.
No.
No, we're not, but I'm just, it's just another idea. Maybe we don't bring them here, maybe we go to them.
It's gonna be hard to get them to come to here because not all kids are gonna participate in the parade. They have to sign a release of liability to participate in said parade, which would then bring the city into it as well.
Between now and the next meeting, what I can do is reach out to Principal Minch and see what options we could do. And I can bring you at your May 20th meeting for your discussion. Here's what I learned from the principal. And if she's available, I'll see if she even wants to come that evening.
That'd be
June
awesome.
5th is graduation.
Next time.
Very good. I will give Chloe a shout tomorrow.
Okay, next thing. I would like to add this to our next work session, if possible. One of the things that we are struggling with, and all of us in some areas, one is even those of us been on council for a long time could really use a refresher, and the newer members could probably use this too. But one of the problems that we struggle with as public servants is staying in our own lane sometimes. We have such a desire to serve our community. Sometimes we just get so exuberant that we kind of step on toes. And I would like us to have some training on how to stay in our own lane. Basically, like, say if we wanted to go, we think, oh, it'd be great, Cindy could go make me 5 copies, but I can't go ask Cindy to make me 5 copies. And it's so easy to forget that. I would like to have a training session that would be good for the newer members and also for the older members as a refresher and just to keep it fresh in our mind. I don't know about you guys, but often I do need reminders, and I always appreciate that redirect. And I don't know how you guys feel about this. I hope you don't feel attacked in any way. But I see it as a struggle that we're having on council. We have always had a very loose and fast council, and in a way that's as much my fault as anybody's because I squirrel so badly. But I'm trying to move us in a more organized, more efficient direction. And when we stay in our lane, the process happens much better. So I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that is what I'm pushing for.
I don't think training's a bad idea on anything because everybody can use training.
How do you feel about it, Bill?
I do CPR at least every year to 2 years. And I've spent years.
Eric, would you be receptive to that kind of training? I know you know a lot of it, but
Well, I feel a tiny bit attacked by the reference to new members, but I don't think that you intend that in the way that I'm taking it.
I was more speaking to Bill, who hasn't had a history of public service.
Sure. Yeah, I totally, training's great. It's great for people to stay in their lanes. Absolutely.
In the public.
Yeah.
Public service.
Rich, is that something that we would be able to put together before our next work session?
I think so.
Would we bring in somebody to do the training, or would we try to do it in-house?
I think that most likely, depending on availability, who's out there, I'd love to bring in somebody because I'm still new to the city manager form of government at this level. I've been an assistant city manager, so the training will be as beneficial to myself, I think.
LOC, and if they could give us some idea of somebody that would be appropriate.
I was going to mention LOC either amongst their staff or perhaps a referral. So I think that that's a strong possibility, and I'll keep you in the loop, Mayor.
If they have like a video or something that we could just watch together. Yeah. I mean, they have some great pre-recorded things that are great. So if they have something that's appropriate there, I think that would be wonderful.
I will dig around, and by our next weekly meeting, I'll get an update for you.
If it's possible to combine it with like a day in which we're already convening somehow, or like on a light agenda.
If we were going to do it at a work session.
Yeah, to like a Saturday morning or something.
Yes.
You don't want to come have another retreat meeting, Eric?
I may not be at that. Like, just to clarify.
Touche.
Can we do it possibly next month? It seems like we're getting kind of full.
With the budget as well.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Why don't I look at some options, find out if it's going to be live in person, potentially get some dates, and then I'll give you guys an update.
Rich, did you say that on the next work session is when there's a discussion for quote transportation?
Yes.
Is that the transportation thing that I had tried to a while ago that said wasn't a big deal or whatever? Is that what that line item is for?
So you had given yourself a specific or not a specific, but a placeholder topic, but other members of the council, especially kind of as more accidents have happened at 20 and 229, there's been a desire among multiple council members to start to have a transportation discussion.
Right, so that was the topic, that specific intersection, and so.
You're not the only one that's expressed that, I'll put it that way.
I know, I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay, my
When I was
apologies.
talking about the appointment to CWACT, it was actually, that was exactly what I wanted to talk about, and it actually is already now on ODOT's priority list to address that intersection. So what I'd say is that conversation, probably if it's about focusing on that particular intersection, I don't know whether that conversation is as necessary to Jackie's point.
Okay.
The purpose of me wanting to put that on the agenda in the first place was trying to advocate for ODOT to put that on the priority list, and it's already there now.
Okay.
Are there other council members that are either supportive of moving the transportation discussion or feel that that's when it needs to be? Is there any strong feelings either way? Because that would relieve the agenda
My
there a little
concern
bit.
was that it was not gonna be on ODOT's radar and that we were gonna have to force the issue, but it sounds like it is already there. And we can continue to offer support through Andrew's involvement in CWAC and through our individual discussions so that we have. I don't think we need to have it as a work session item.
No, because they were supposed to have had that on their radar, and that's part of what is her name is? I'll tell you what I'm talking about later. I can't remember her name, but she said that she's pushed it up the ladder again, and she's gonna find out how the ball got dropped on the traffic study. Because I was informed, Rod was informed that they had a traffic study they were gonna be setting out, so we could figure that intersection out. And I mean, in just the last 2 accidents, we've had 7 cars total.
And as I said, it was actually, in my understanding, the increased traffic that can't come from,
229.
229 from the north, from Lincoln City, having to come all the way down to Newport and then across to go up, is actually one of the main reasons why,
Contributing to that.
the justification, I should say, increased traffic is one of the reasons why it got put on that priority list. So it is already there, so I don't know that there's as urgent a need for a discussion on that.
That makes sense. Thank
I
you.
would be fine moving it out of there.
Yeah.
So
one last thing.
to answer that, Jackie, no, I feel we need this training this month. Okay. I feel I do. I just feel it. I don't wanna pinpoint any reasons or any issues, specific issues, but yes, we need
Enough
it.
said, that's good.
Okay. That's the only things that I can think of that I wanted, the 2 that I remembered that I wanted on the issue tracker or on the future agenda items. I'm sorry, I need to get that right. Is there anybody else that wants anything else on the future agenda items? Okay, moving on, we have council comments. Eric, can we start with you? Do you have any council comments?
My comment is that I am hungry.
Okay, understood. Very well understood. Jackie? Okay. Eric, or Andrew?
No.
Okay. Phil? No?
Okay, so I'll make it quick. I was posting about the art contest for the domestic violence. I don't remember the person's name, I've got a screenshot. She asked a very good question. Where are we gonna be displaying all these kids' artwork? And asked if, the possibility that, yeah, I'll say that too. Asked about the possibility of maybe the library or one of our empty businesses. And I agree with her, I think that we may be choosing, a group of people that the daughter's gonna choose the winners, but why not showcase everybody?
Yeah.
Whether it's a poem, because somebody asked in the assembly if a poem was art. Well, yeah, if that's how you feel art is, yeah. But this is just something I told her I was gonna bring up here, or council can talk about it at a later date, because we still got a bit. But I think we should showcase everybody's art.
And I love the idea of the library. I'll talk to Harrison tomorrow and see if he feels like he would have an appropriate place for that.
He might decide to just do it as like an arts, he might do it as like, sometimes they'll showcase something for like a month at a
Yeah.
time.
Well, and he's one of the dropout points for all these kids is art. The other thing is for those that were in the budget meeting yesterday, I asked the question of the chief from Siletz about how many volunteers we have. It is disgustingly low. We have, what was it, 7 was the total number? 7 total people that work at our fire department from paid to volunteer, and that's all we have. I would like to suggest that maybe we work with him and get some like pamphlets for volunteers and maybe hand them out at these events to try and get some people that want to volunteer for this fire department because they can't keep working the way they are.
Well, the other thing that I would think is, it used to be that we would involve high schoolers as like, cadets and whatnot and training. Maybe we need to do some sort of an outreach to our schools, to our high school, to say, hey, this can earn you some credits. This is it looks really great on your resume and it gives you some really great hands-on experience. No, these are not the ones that can run into the burning buildings, but they can give some real support and learn some great, part of it isn't always just who can run into the burning building. It's just building up these kids and giving them a good basis to fall back on.
I don't know where the conversation's at, but I think that there was a potential of an EMS CTE program at the school. So that would be a good intersection point.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm more Pollyanna-ish than those who had to go through it and wear the scars. But I also hold out hope that at some point there's an opportunity for healing and maybe getting some of our previous volunteers back. I don't want to give up on that.
No.
But maybe
well,
now.
I will say that Mr. Lapop did state that this isn't a Toledo issue. It's not a Lincoln County issue. It's not a state issue. It is across the board from East Coast to West Coast. They're having a hard time finding volunteers. I just I don't know if these, we can send them out in people's paper bill for the water bill for those that get the paper bill or something. We've got to get these guys some help. They can't keep going like this. And that is all I'm going to say for now.
On that subject?
On everything. We'll talk about that after.
Okay.
So that's on you.
Okay, so now mayor comments. I said a lot tonight. It's late. It's been a very full week already. And I do not want to keep you guys here. With that, I think I would like to adjourn our meeting. We are adjourning at 9:40 p.m.